former Fulton County District Attorney and Sheriff.
Formerly a judge, and he knows a little bit about how these things go.
From Mohawk Valley, legal eagle, lawman.
He is the Sheriff of Fulton County, New York. Just such an amazing guy.
This is the Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet.
My name is Rich Giardino, and you're watching or listening to the Rich Giardino Show on your favorite platforms. Our guest today, we're very fortunate to have with us John McLaughlin of McLaughlin and Associates. John is a key advisor to President Donald Trump and has been with him since 2015. John and his firm represents over 18 sitting congressmen and 10 sitting United States senators, a lot of National Republican Committee individuals, and he's been involved in key races in almost every state in the nation for governors, senators, and on the legislative level, and also mayors in large cities. John, thank you for taking the time to come on with me today. I really appreciate it. This program will be airing the same day today, Thursday, as the debate. And so, John, start and tell us a little bit about what you're trending, what your polling is showing as we go into the debate.
You know, we just put out a new national poll where we asked, it's interesting, the question we asked on Thursday night, June 27th, President Biden and former President Trump will appear in their first debate on CNN. The moderators will be Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. From the following list, which issue you would like to see the moderators ask these candidates about most? High prices and inflation, first, second choice combined, 49%. Secure the border, immigration, this is nationwide, 1,000 likely voters, 31%. Jobs in the economy, 21%. Social Security, Medicare, 16%. Finally, Joe Biden's favorite issue, 15% total first, second choice, democracy, and January 6th. That dog just doesn't hunt. So, and abortions, 12%, ending the wars in Ukraine, Gaza, 10%. So we're going to see a debate where, you know, CNN's, it's historic in the sense that you have a sitting incumbent Democratic president who's trailing in the polls to his opponent ever since he surrendered Afghanistan in September of 21, and inflation kicked in, headed for double digits. And Trump's been leading in the national popular vote. We never saw that in 2016. We never saw it in 2020. It was always an electoral state play that we were trying to win. And, you know, so now we've been ahead. Biden's, you know, I mean, last year was the indictment year where, you know, the president was weaponizing the justice system. And he had Trump indicted by Alvin Bragg after he sent Matt Colangelo there, the number 3 guy in the Justice Department, left. And the judge who did the case, his daughter is one of Judge Merchan's daughter. Her most important client is President Biden. She raises tens of millions of dollars. According to the New York Post, through March, she raised $93 million for Democrats. She probably gets a 15 to 20% commission or gross off that. So, you know, so they indicted him. And they had their trial, and you had Jack Smith appointed after Biden went after Trump, and then you had this Fannie Willis down in Georgia with her boyfriend going to the White House, and they had some sort of conspiracy RICO thing. But Donald Trump's endured all that, and we've stayed ahead in the polls. We're leading in the battleground states in spite of Biden spending tens of millions of dollars. And so right now we're in a good position that Biden wants to debate, and we're going into the lion's den. President Trump will be there, no studio audience. Dana Bash and Jake Tapper, not friendly moderators, adversarial moderators. And Joe Biden. They were going to have RFK there. He wanted to be in, but they thought that was unfair because then it'd be 4 liberals against Donald Trump instead of 3. So you know, so you're going to have this debate that's not going to be friendly at all to President Trump because they can cut off his mic whenever they want to. I mean, CNN's famous for that, censorship. And he'll go in and he'll try to talk to the American people and try to be positive, talk about solutions. He'll talk about policies he did that Joe Biden took apart. President Trump had a successful economy. He kept America at peace. He didn't start any wars. He was getting us out of wars, kept us safe from terrorists, kept us secured the border. And he'll talk about how he's going to do that again
He
And
brought a
this,
lot of hostages back too. He brought
yeah,
hostages back without giving away the house. And one thing I want to ask you, you've taken a couple small hits, couple percentage points recently, but not immediately following the trial. So do you think, like, is this what builds his endurance and his it brings him a following? Because it's not just the base, it's independents and moderates that are looking, and you and I have talked about this. They're looking at this as political, a political, using lawfare, going after him using politics. And I looked up the stats because I was so interested. Do you know that in Manhattan, in the last 2 years, in 22 and 23, the total number of individuals sentenced on the same charges he was convicted of was 7 people? 7 people in Manhattan.
I'm not
And
even sure of that because I don't think anybody's ever been tried on those charges as a felony. The only one we found was there was one in Rockland County that the judge threw out, and the
well,
Washington.
no, I'm saying that sentence. So they pled guilty, starting at the top count. They pled guilty. So there wasn't a trial. But what was interesting is they were all given conditional discharges. There was
Right.
one case of a fellow who had a prior felony conviction, so it had to be prison. So, and those are all plea bargains. So it shows you I argue that that would be on appeal, no matter what a sentence is. The selective prosecution. Usually, selective prosecution is something that we argue as he was targeted for the charges, but and then when it comes to the sentence, it's going to be interesting because that's going to be another argument. If they try house arrest or incarceration, both of those I think are ridiculous. But we're watching a political prosecution, so maybe it's not so ridiculous. It's scary thought
Yeah.
that they can take a case, a misdemeanor from 10 years ago, 8 years ago, and try to turn it around. But do you think that that's what gives him, like the people who are turning towards him, and I'm saying the independents and moderates, is it because they're seeing this and they're saying, wait, this is just wrong, that, to use this? And when they saw the cast of characters, you know, they get it. Cohen and all, and Stormy Daniels. I mean, the whole thing is seedy, and you know what you get with Trump. He's never hidden anything. He's always been what he's been. So I think that the public is almost, I want to say, inoculated towards Trump. They know what they have. They know what he is. If they don't like him, if you don't like him, it doesn't matter. Like what he did, his policies. You know what I mean? So tell me how your polling shows you. Like, is that impacting him in all of the convictions and the charges?
Well, no, and it hasn't so far. And the bad part is if he wins this debate and stays ahead in the polls, and after July 4th, Biden gets his polls back, if he's still losing, I'm sure Mershon will send him to jail, send him to Rikers Island. I mean, it's like they've done everything else. They've tried to take his wealth, they've tried to put him out of business, and now they're trying to put him in jail. And by the way, the majority of Americans think they're only doing this to put him in jail to stop him from being elected, 54-31. And they also believe, the majority of Americans, that if they can weaponize the Justice Department, the FBI, the IRS, they can do this to anyone. 62-37. They agree with 27. They agree with that. And I'll tell you, the other part is the election isn't about this. It's about America. And Trump is enduring all this with dignity and defiance because he cares about this country. He sees what's going on. And in the latest poll, and we're going to post it on our website on McLaughlinonline.com, you'll have 68% of all voters telling us that the country's on the wrong track. That's a huge number. It's worse than when Obama was president. It's like, and then when you ask them, Joe Biden, 57% disapprove the job he's doing. Only 41. This is 1,000 likely voters. Only 41 approve. And when you tell them, that about the economy, 50% already think we're in a recession because of inflation. They say the economy is getting worse, not better. 62-31, and 84% negatively impacted by inflation. And you've got 49% to the point where they're having trouble making ends meet. We're lucky this isn't winter where people are trying to heat their homes, and just trying to go on. People are cutting back on vacations. When you go to buy gas, it still costs more. When you buy food, you're going into sticker shock. You can't afford the car you wanted to buy. You can't get a mortgage, let alone you can't afford that. It's double what it was, the payment, than when Trump was president. So, and then they want to raise your taxes. I mean, if they let the Trump tax cuts lapse, we will be in a recession, if not depression. There'll be so many corporations cutting back. There'll be so many businesses fleeing America. It'll be a historic record tax increase. And that's Biden's goal, is to get reelected, to keep the policies in place that's ruining the country. And that's why Donald Trump's running. And that's why he's going to be speaking to the voters about this.
And I think my opinion is that they keep try to blame Trump. President Trump, oh, you had the COVID. Oh, it was Trump. And the bottom line is, I think people catch it when they go to the grocery store, like you said, or they pump gas. And it's like, okay, Biden's president, he's had 3 years to turn it around. You can just blame President Trump for so much. And I think what we're seeing with an uptick with Black and Hispanic support, I think that 4 years ago when President Trump said, look, give me a chance. You've been betting on the Democrats and they haven't really helped you. Give me a shot. And I think now that a certain percentage did go his way, but I think you're going to see historic levels among minorities supporting President Trump. And I think one of them is the immigration issue. There's a lawsuit in Illinois started by the NAACP and in both Chicago and the state where they're saying, hey, we've been begging for monies for schools, for summer jobs, for things for our kids, better education and housing. And now you guys are funding the illegal immigrants. And I use the word illegal immigrants, and you're not taking care of the people who need it and been begging for you to help us. How is that what your polling is showing? The same trending?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we're getting over 20% of the African American vote, which is, we had 8% in 2016. We had 12% in 2020. To be over 20% now in the polls is great. And we're winning the Hispanic vote, because if you're a legal voter and you happen to be Hispanic, you came into this country and played by the rules. And if you're an immigrant household, we're winning those voters 5-3. They're really upset because they played by the rules. They waited for years if they had to, and they did it right. And now there's people just walking into the country, and they know a lot of those people are bad people. You got gang members, you got Chinese military age men coming into the country by the tens of thousands. And guess what they do after they come into the country, according to Gordon Chang? They sign up for target practice. Tell me that they're not, here for the wrong reasons, and they try to sneak onto military bases. So
they're Chinese people coming in from Mexico, and there's at least 82 other countries represented coming through Mexico. And we're getting on the northern border because there's a fascinating thing. You can fly from Mexico to Canada without any prohibitions, and then you sneak into here. We've seen a 400 to 500% increase in the border crossings on the northern border, which is New York, Vermont, and part of New Hampshire, I guess. Yeah. And so we're seeing that, and they just get released the same way.
Yeah. Don't forget Maine. They got a big wilderness up there. And what the scary part is, they're not vetted. They're coming into this country. And, you've got them saying they got ISIS out of Tajikistan. You've got these, you've got people here that Joe Biden has no clue who they are, and he's letting them in, and he's hoping they vote for him. I mean, it's like crazy.
Well, what bothers me is both the FBI Director Wray, who's appointed by Biden, and the Homeland Security Director have both said in the last 8 months in front of Congress on more than one occasion, we're getting an influx of people we don't know who they are, which are bringing drugs and gangs into the country. Those are President Biden's appointments, but you won't catch any of that in the mainstream media. And it's interesting because, like you said, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. Jake Tapper said America's nightmare is over when Trump got defeated, and he's going to be fair. He's not a journalist; he's an advocate. And I mean, this country, and I don't know. Tell me what's going to bring us together, because it just seems like everyone's got a team. You're either for the Biden team or the Trump team, and there's no in between. I have friends who say to me, "I can't believe you support Trump." I said, I support Trump's policies. I said, what President Trump did as president was making this country move in the right direction. Unemployment for Blacks and Hispanics was at historic lows. Employment was at historic highs. Yeah. And we saw a country that moving forward. And then if you mention immigrants and crime, oh, you're anti-immigrant. These people are looking for jobs. No, and murdering and raping and killing people, including 12-year-old kids. And one of the mothers says, look, I don't like my child being used as a political pawn, but the border, had the border been different, my kid wouldn't be dead. So it's such a sad state we're in. But is there a way, is there a way to coalesce and bring people together, or is that beyond where we are
I
as
think
a country?
people will coalesce with success. With President Trump, when he went to Iowa before the caucuses and the Fox News town hall they had, and I happened to go on that campaign swing with him. And, when they asked him about these, you get these exaggerations and these attacks from the media, and they were saying, well, what's this about? You're going to be a dictator day one, you're going to have retribution, et cetera. He said, my success for the American people is his retribution. He wants to be a good president. He's focused, he's determined. He would like to turn things around for the country. And when people see inflation going down, when they see the border secure, when they see criminals, illegal immigrants and criminals being deported, when they see, Gaza, you mentioned it, they took Americans hostage. It wasn't just Israelis. And Joe Biden is basically, he's allowed it to happen. It should have been, don't talk to us about a nickel of humanitarian aid until you return all our hostages. And it should have been from a position of strength. I mean, we're in a scary world right now where China and Russia are advancing. You've got North Korea threatening South Korea. You've got them doing alliances with these guys, and you got Iran, who is on the verge of a nuclear bomb. And Joe Biden allowed them to get hundreds of billions of dollars or tens of billions at least that they could develop this, because Trump had sanctions on them. They didn't have the money for terrorism or nuclear weapons until Joe Biden took office. And he's making no progress at all. He's weak. The whole world knows it. I have European clients and democracies over there. They see him at meetings and they can't believe he's the president. They don't feel safe. And we don't feel safe at home. They don't feel safe over there. With Donald Trump, there's a Donald Trump they respect, and there's a Donald Trump that at least our enemies fear, and you're safe. And he really does care. He really does want to make it a better world.
I think Donald Trump to our foreign enemies poses the same Ronald Reagan type of threat. You don't know what he's going to do. And I think they think he's unpredictable, and being unpredictable makes them stand down. And I think what's interesting, and I think you are in a luckier or a better position being a Republican consultant and an advisor, because how do you advise the president when your left flank is saying, what do you mean you're not backing the Palestinians and you're not condemning the Jews, when the Jewish people have stood with America? And in America, we've always stood with the Jewish state and the Jewish people. And I've voiced it on the WGY radio show, which if you get time next week, I'd love you on. I've always said that, this is crazy, because the stated goal of the Palestinians and Hamas is to kill. I always say Hamas. I think of food too much. Hamas is to kill the Jews and eradicate them. They're the little evil. We're the big evil. And I don't understand that. I think the Democrats are putting this pressure on Biden, and he doesn't know which way to go. And there's no way you can play both ends on that situation. Let me just do this for a quick second. There's the Rich Giardino Show you're listening to. Interesting conversation with our guest, John McLaughlin. Please like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, on X, on Spotify, on Rumble, or Ramble, I don't even know, and on all your favorite platforms that do podcasts. We do excellent podcasts, and allow me to be on there. Thank you. So we're with John McLaughlin Associates, who's been an advisor to President Trump since 2015 and advises candidates across this country. He's got 10 sitting United States senators and 18 congressmen, individuals, men and women currently. John, one of the things that's interesting is watching Fetterman, who was inept and had a stroke and had all these problems, and he is starting to turn the tide a little bit with his Democratic allies. And he's another one they don't know how to handle. So what do you make of that? Is it sincere on his part, or do you think he's playing to his hometown, Fetterman?
Oh, I think it's sincere that he's been more pro-Israel, maybe at his political expense in his base. And full disclosure, besides working in the United States, I mentioned I work in other democracies, countries where they don't shoot the pollster. But I've worked since '03 through the '22 election in Israel for Bibi Netanyahu. So, and Bibi's a great friend of America. Um, and right now he's in a very difficult position. I mean, he's in a position where they have to secure their country. It's such a tiny country, and it's like England in World War II. Everybody around them, was all those governments, the Vichy governments, the German governments, etc. They wanted to get rid of England. So Israel, it's a democracy, the only democracy in the Middle East that shares our values, and they would like to wipe it out, and it would be, it's something where Joe Biden shouldn't be playing politics with their security. With Donald Trump, a lot of these things would have never happened because, you say it's unpredictable. No, there was a certain amount of predictability. If you hit the United States, you will pay a bigger price. And if you attack our friends and enemies, you will pay a price. And we will stand by our friends and enemies. And
Both the FBI director and the Homeland Security director said that there are terrorist cells in our country, and it's a matter of time. There's all kinds of red flags. The only people who aren't concentrating on that are the president, the Democrats in Congress, and the media. The media is not, this is what's frustrating to me. The media is not getting that message out. These President Biden's appointed individuals telling us that there's red flags. Let's talk about the vice presidency for a second, if we could. Traditionally, as a political science major at Siena College and a lawyer, I've always felt that the vice president really doesn't do much, appointee nominee doesn't do much to help the front runner, the president. In this case, do you see, what do you think, and without violating any confidences, what do you think President Trump, he likes to play the game where he's got everybody going, and that's him. I think he does that on purpose. But what do you think? Like, what is he? He really doesn't need a particular person for this, but what do you think he's looking for his presidential appointee?
he's looking, I
Vice
mean,
presidential.
when you look at Joe Biden, he's got a great vice president in Kamala Harris that she's impeachment insurance. No one's going to impeach Joe Biden while she's there. And, and when you look at, our needs, Donald Trump said it right. He wants somebody who could be president. He doesn't want to have that liability. He wants somebody that if the worst happens, you have somebody that you feel is confident that would be the best president that we could have other than Donald Trump. So he's going to pick somebody that can lead the country. And at the same time, I think he's looking for somebody that would stand by him, give him advice, and keep us on the right track, share his values, share his vision for America, and be a strong person. So, yeah, I agree with you about President Trump's, his showman skills. He had the highest rated reality TV show on TV before he ran for president, the Celebrity Apprentice, and I think we're looking at him, making an announcement at the debate or after the debate, all his potential primary vice presidential picks that he was talking about are going to be with him at the watch party in Atlanta before and after the CNN debate. And he says he already knows who he's going to pick, and we'll see. He'll let us know at that time. So, but it'll be somebody who we could be proud of, somebody who will help him win in November, and it'll be a sharp contrast to Kamala Harris, that's for sure. Joe Biden.
And they keep on this felon. He's a convicted felon, and I think that it's not helping Biden. And I think one of the things that surprised me, and your poll shows us, I think the abortion, they're putting so much emphasis on abortion in the Supreme Court ruling. And I think the Supreme Court ruling said, let the states decide. And I feel strongly that with a new Supreme Court decision on the pill, the abortion pill, and it's technical decision, but it allows the abortion pill to stay in play. So it's not banning the abortion pill that they just came down with. It was a technical decision, but I think that they're overplaying abortion. I think that they've tried to make it an issue, and I don't think I don't think that the public is focused on that. I think, like you said, when you combine the economy, jobs, and what's going on, and inflation,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it hits. Is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you'd like our listeners or viewers to be aware of, to look for in the debate, which will be the night that we play this Thursday night? What should they be looking for? I mean, they've tried to hide and they can't hide President Biden once the debate starts. And but what do you think the viewers should be watching and listening for tonight?
I think they should look for the substance of this debate, where a lot of people speculated that Joe Biden may be jacked up or may have some substance abuse problems going into the debate, but he probably won't take a blood test. But I think you should look for the substance of the debate, the policies, and what's going to make your life better. Which of these two men can lead this country that would actually reduce prices, secure the border, keep you safe, keep the world at peace, reduce crime? I mean, you're looking for somebody that would make your life better. And, and it's going to be Donald Trump. I mean, he's done it before, and he'll be even better this time. He's got more experience. I mean, the middle class in this country has been exploited for years now. And the working middle class is totally with Donald Trump because we can't take this much longer. We can't worry about our jobs, our living, our homes, our kids, and our grandkids' future. I mean, when you work hard and you make a living, you want the dollar that you're spending in the store to be worth it. When you earned it, you want it to have the same value, and hold it. Having to spend it before it loses value and lose your standard of living. That's not good, because it tells you about the decline of America.
Just one quick point and then a question. Point is, I always thought that Mitt Romney was done a disservice and screwed over by the media and Obama when he said the biggest threat to America is Russia. And then,
Mhm.
you're living in the 50s. He called that. He was a few years, omniscient of what was going to happen in the future. But my question is, do you think that the social issues, which seem so important with the movements that are going on and what's going on in the schools, that has been overtaken by the economy? In other words, a lot of people got fired up about a lot of the social issues and the retooling of America and trying to make um, everything woke, if that's even a word. Woke have been overtaken by the economy. I mean, people, like you said, people want to be able to have a better life for their kids and grandkids. They want to know their grandparents are safe, and they want to put food on the table and not have to take it from somewhere else. Do you think that those social issues have kind of taken a back seat now at this time?
No, they're still there. It's all part of the fabric of exploitation. Here they are. It's crazy, but like, we're having a problem filling the military with the all volunteer army, Navy, etc., because they want to have all these liberal radical policies where they care more about diversity. And by the way, our military is very diverse, and it's the most important, institution probably in the country. And they've got social agendas that have nothing to do with keeping us safe. They have social agendas that really, they're trying to tell you what your kids should be doing and learning that's against your values. And you want them to learn to read and write and do science. Basically, you want them to excel. You want to have the best schools and education in the world, and they're teaching them things that are way afar of that. So I think it's all part of the same. The big question will be: are you better off now, today, than before Joe Biden took office? Those of us who remember Ronald Reagan, when he delivered that question to Jimmy Carter, that was the end of the election. Before that, it was close, and a lot of people said Reagan was too old, too radical, too conservative, and he'll blow up the world. And guess what? He didn't. And made things better. And I think Donald Trump, he's a fighter and he's combative. Nobody else could have gone through what they put him through.
Oh, I don't think anyone else could have the stomach for it. But go back, back on the social issues. I'm tolerant. I have friends of every persuasion, diversion, every identity, and I love my friends and I want them to be happy. I think most people are that way. They got family members, friends, and they just want to be tolerant and let people live. They don't want things shoved at their kids or shoved at them. They want to be able to make their own choices and make their choices for their families. And I think that we can get, we went from a position of being tolerant and understanding, accepting, to being ruled by social policy. We have grants, and when they ask us about grants, it's more about diversity and who you got working on a grant, how many vendors have you hired, not about are you succeeding, are you making people safer, are you taking the drugs off the street. And I think, like I always tell everybody with criminal justice system, the pivotal question for our legislators and the governor should be very simple. It should be, is this law going to make it safer for the law-abiding citizens and their family or not? And if it's not, it shouldn't be there. John, I want to thank John McLaughlin for spending some time with us. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Is there anything else, just last as you wrap it up, that I didn't mention or you didn't mention? Because we covered a lot of ground and I appreciate it. And like I say, what's nice is for our viewers and listeners, the poll that we're talking about today is going to be released in the next 24 hours. So it'll be out there and everyone can read all the numbers themselves prior to the debate. John, anything else?
Well, I think you covered a lot of ground, but I think they should get involved in the election. Make sure they vote this year, and don't wait till like election day, etc. If there's early voting, if there's absentee voting, get online, go vote, and it's up to us to actually make the decision. So, so stay involved and check out the issues and look at the candidates and realize that President Trump says this is the most important election that we've known probably in history, and it may just be. So get involved in that and make sure you vote.
Yeah. Listen, folks, listen to as many opinions as you can. Listen to what the guests say. You can choose what you feel comfortable and what you feel is reasonable and based on the facts. And I thank our guest, John McLaughlin and McLaughlin Associates, and look them up online, go to their website, and you don't have to run for president to have his firm represent you. I'll be contacting you at some point, hopefully. You don't have to run for president, but it's nice to have somebody who is grounded in conservative, moderate values and represents a wide variety of candidates. Thanks a lot, John. Really appreciate it. And maybe we'll talk next week when I'm on the radio.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Please like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, X, and any other platform to listen to podcasts.
Like and subscribe to The Rich Giardino Show, part of the Elite Influencer Network, wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll see you next time on The Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet.